Just taste that oxygen. You get lightheaded if you take too many deep breaths, and I've done that before. Anyway, good morning everybody and welcome back to the Voodoo Garden. My name is Ray. I am the host of All Things That Are Voo, and I have show and tell for you today. That is going to be fun. I have what's called an avocado. Yeah, I know most of you know what an avocado is, but some of you have not ever grown an avocado, and I would encourage you to give it a shot. One of the very basic ways to start gardening is to grow what's around you, what's convenient. Instead of starting out with something advanced, something strange, start out with something that's actually just right on your shelf. You can look through your kitchen, you can find all kinds of good things to grow. For those of you who are beginners and want to get started, one of the things that I've done before, and I've done it really well, is that when you're at the grocery store, no, I did not grow these. Look pretty good though, don't they? Yeah, they look pretty good at the store as well. Now, normally when you buy tomatoes in the store, they taste like nothing. I really don't have a good way of describing it other than you wish you could get your money back. Now, sometimes, once in a while, you will get tomatoes in the grocery store and you'll bite into it and you go, oh, that's what a tomato is supposed to taste like. And most store-bought tomatoes don't taste like homegrown tomatoes. So when you do find one, it's something that's really worth wanting to hold on to, and you don't know what brand it is. You don't know. All it says is tomato. So what I've done before is I've taken the seeds from a tomato at the grocery store, dried them out, let them dry for a little while, and then planted them, and I've grown tomatoes. And you can do that. Yes, you can. Some people might tell you don't do that. Well, I'll tell you, yes, definitely. If you find a tomato at the grocery store that suits your fancy and you really like it, you know what? Take the seeds and grow it yourself. You're going to more than likely have a good, healthy growing tomato plant. And this is why. Because the people that grow tomatoes, they grow plants that are, one, determinate, which means they're all ready to harvest all at one time. Because tomato harvesters don't want to go through there and go, this one's ready, this one's ready, this one's ready. No, they go through there with machines, rip up the whole plant and take all the tomatoes and stuff. So all the tomatoes have to be ready all at the exact same time. So they grow what's called determinate tomatoes. Those are tomato plants that put out all their tomatoes all at once and then they're done. Nothing else after that. As opposed to indeterminate tomato plants, those are the ones that put out one here, one there. The ones that most of us always grow, those are the heirloom generally. So if you want to grow a store-bought tomato, be ready that they're more than likely going to put out all their fruit all at once, and generally they're going to be a good tomato. So you have a good chance of getting a good tomato that way. That is one thing that I can advise you to do. Also, I love throwing this thing up and down because it makes me feel like I can catch. This is an avocado, and if you like avocados, when you go to the grocery store, how to select a good avocado, I don't know if anybody's ever told you this before. You know, when I was 19, I was just a kid, and I met Mike the dishwasher. He didn't know how to pick out an avocado. He thought that you were supposed to pick out the ones that were really hard as a baseball. He said, those are the good ones. And I said, no, you can't cut into those things. It's like cutting into a baseball. You got to get the ones that are not too mushy. You don't want them to get, be like, ugh. Feel the top of them. All right. If they feel very mushy, now don't go squeezing your finger into it and ruining it for everybody else. That's not a nice thing to do. When you test an avocado, gently press into it. If there's a little bit of give, that's a perfect avocado, because you may not need it for that night. If you get one with just a little bit of give towards the top, you're going to be able to hold that avocado. You can either use it the next day or you can use it 4 or 5 days later on. So it's going to have a little bit of shelf lifespan for you. Now, if you get one that's too mushy, more than likely it'll have spots in it where everybody's been squishing the darn thing. Look in the back underneath for the good ones, because a lot of the ones in the front, people have already done this to, and that's not a good thing. But anyway, back to what I wanted to tell you is that once you eat the avocado, normally what people will do is just slice all the way around, from top to bottom, all the way around the avocado, pop it open, and then you remove the seed. Some folks throw that away. If you keep that seed, you can actually grow yourself a tree. Yes, you can. I know this may be second grade knowledge to some people who did this in grade school, but there are a lot of people who may not know this. You can grow an avocado from seed. What you do Now this is the trick, all right? Take that seed, run it under lukewarm water, like room temperature water, and gently wipe off all the goo that's on there. The green stuff, wipe it until it's no longer slimy. And then let it dry for a day. And then, now a lot of people will do this. They'll take toothpicks and put them into their avocado and suspend it half in a glass of water so that the bottom half of the avocado is in water. And then you wait about maybe a month or so. It splits at the bottom and a root comes down, and then also a growing tip comes out of the top. That's the common way of doing it. Now, there's a not so common way that some people don't know about, and this is nature's way of growing an avocado. I'm not going to drag you over here. I'll go over to you, okay? This time I'll make the effort to come to you. My favorite method of growing an avocado is to bury it halfway deep in soil. Now this one was buried halfway down. I removed some of the soil. Bury it halfway into the soil. Keep the soil slightly moist. You can let it dry out a little bit, but generally keep it moist and keep it in a average lit location. Not too sunny, not too dark. If it's too dark, it's going to rot from mold and other funguses that enjoy darkness. If it's in bright sunlight, it's generally going to stay dried out. But I put it half in and out of soil, and look what happens. It's split open, the root has gone down there, and this is the growing tip. This is the first thing you're going to see after about a month or two. Now don't be impatient, okay? Don't go picking it up out of the soil, putting it back in. And this is nature's way, because when an avocado is on a tree, what happens is some animal comes along, grabs the avocado, eats the avocado, drops the pit. The pit hits the ground. This is nature's way of doing things, okay? And nature knows what it's doing. It'll hit the ground, kind of get a little bit covered up, maybe, maybe not. But it hits the moist ground, and then it sends out a root. And that goes into the ground, and the seed, unlike most other seeds that you have to bury, this one does not need to be buried. Once it starts growing, don't remove any of this stuff. It'll eventually rot away like maybe a half a year later. Leave that there, because that's going to feed the plant as it grows. Once this little part comes out, put it underneath medium to medium bright sunlight, not full sun, medium to medium bright sunlight. There you go, you have an avocado. Now you're going to want to make sure you put this into a bigger pot. Once it puts out a couple leaves, then you're going to, because this root more than likely has already touched the bottom of the pot. They send out long roots really quick. And one thing that I've found that my avocados don't like is to have their roots hit the bottom too awful soon. So once it gets its first couple leaves, I would put it into whatever size pot you want this plant to stay in for the rest of its life. Okay, that takes care of Mr. Avocado. Next on the agenda, I'm just flying along because I got a lot of things to talk about, and I don't want to ramble on and bore you. I want to keep you interested. And this thing is definitely going to catch your interest. This plant here and this plant here are the exact same age, grown from 2 seeds that I got off of eBay. Actually, I got 5. And I got 3 of them to germinate, and I threw 1 of them away because I really didn't need it. I know that sounds kind of mean, but I had to do it because I have limited space. Come on over here, and because I can't carry this to you. You're gonna have to come over here and take a look at, I want to show you the differences of what happens when you take care of plants 2 totally different ways, okay? Come on. Let's start with the larger one. This is called a cashew tree. Yep. I bought 2 cashew seeds off eBay and planted them. I've tried to grow a cashew tree before, and it didn't work out very well, and I think it was my soil. This was back when I lived in Minnesota. I decided to try it again because I think they're beautiful. I think they're beautiful and they're different. How many people do you know have a cashew tree growing in their house? Raise your hands. Not too awful many, right? So you can get good quality cashew seeds online, and you can plant them. Now, one of the things I want to warn you about right off the bat, cashew seeds look like cashew nuts, if you look at a cashew nut, but they're bigger, because the cashew nut is actually inside that shell. Do not, when you get the seeds, do not cut them open, do not break them open, don't play with them, don't put them in your mouth, because there's a liquid inside the shell that the seed is in, and that is like a caustic liquid, which means it can actually burn your skin, and you can have a severe allergic reaction to it. There's no problem as long as you don't go biting into it and drilling into it. Don't be a dummy. Now you take that seed, you plant it about maybe 1 inch underneath the soil, and you wait. And it's going to take probably about 2 to 3 weeks for that seed to germinate. And they do have a good germination rate. What happens is the moisture gets into that shell, It neutralizes that acid, and then the seed starts growing. That's the seed's way of protecting itself with that acid. Now, once it starts growing, this is what you get. The seed leaves will die off, and then it'll start putting out these leaves. They're okay. I mean, there's nothing special about them. They actually come out a light green like this, and then they turn a dark green. And one of the growing patterns of a cashew tree is it forks naturally. Look at this. It's sent out 2 side branches right off the bat, and here's the main trunk that continues, and then if you turn over this way, you can see it puts out another one. Of course, it didn't put out another one on this side, so it's kind of lopsided, but it really doesn't care that you think it's lopsided. This is how a cashew tree grows. It's growing very healthy. And let me see how old this thing is. I grew it in 2017. Well, that tells me a lot, Ray. Thanks a lot. Okay, well, it's this year. I think it's about maybe a month and a half old from seed. So that's not bad. Now, before it started forking out, I mean, it only had a few leaves out. You know what I decided to do? I decided to prune it back because you know me, I like to lop the heads off of everything. And let me show you what I did with its twin brother, twin sister, whatever you want to call it. These leaves are a little bit smaller, but it has more growing tips. Look what I did. I cut off, right after the first set of leaves, I cut off the growing tip, and it sent out 2 main branches here, and then a couple more over there. It has 4 equal growing tips. And they're all going to grow main trunks like that. So it's going to be more of a bushy plant. Now, I left this one in a small pot only because I ran out of potting soil. I have more potting soil, so it's time to transplant this. You'll want to make sure that you give them root space. Now, this one, compared to its twin, they're about the same size. The one on the left has a slightly thicker stem. Now, it would be more likely to be healthier because it has a bigger pot. Now, I'm more than likely going to grow these in a pot this size because I don't want them to get too awful big. So I'm going to be transplanting this soon. Now, this is just one idea that I wanted to give you. You can grow something a little bit strange and fun and easy in your house. And your kids, you know, come on, kids are going to love this thing. They're like, oh my gosh, I got one of these things growing in my house. Mom got me a cashew seed. So, or dad. And so this is something that you can grow inside your house and have a lot of fun with as well. Whether or not it's going to give out cashews, I have no idea. I guess we're just going to wait and see. Yeah, what the heck. I want to just swing over here. I don't want to put the camera back on the tripod and bring it all the way back over here. I'm a little lazy today. This right here is a night blooming jasmine. A long time ago, I had one that I bought as a little tiny plant, and I grew, and it was wonderful, but then we had the great spider mite invasion in Wyndham, and it died. It just dropped dead. And I always wanted to get another one. I didn't buy this as a plant. Believe it or not, I grew this from a seed. Yes, I did. Now, this one has not been touched. This is all natural growth, all the way up here. And look, see down here, it's putting out all kinds of new shoots at the base of it. So I think this is basically going to be like a bushy plant. Now you can see all the new stuff right here. Normally you'll see this when I pruned the plant. This one I didn't prune. Now I don't know what month I planted. Oh yeah, March. All right, so this is a couple months old from seed. And they do really well. So you can buy yourself some jasmine, night blooming jasmine seeds online, plant them, and they grow really well in diffused light. So these are a great indoor plant. Put them about maybe a foot, 2 feet from a window, and they're going to do beautifully. And one night, when they get bigger and they start putting out these flowers, it's going to smell beautiful in your house, I guarantee you. Now, here's its twin. Yeah, it's twin day here in the Voodoo Garden. Look at this one. This one I decided to see what would happen. Now it's the same size pot, and they sprouted at almost the exact same time. And so these are identical in growing conditions, soil, light, everything. But look at this one. The leaves are the same size as the other one. This one is putting out more and longer shoots towards the top as opposed to putting them out at the bottom. Now it does have one or two down at the bottom, but most of them are growing out a little bit higher up. And I think this one is going to be slightly bushier than the other one. So I have 2 different kinds of night blooming jasmine. During the winter, you were with me here, and I was growing my vegetables inside, getting them ready for growing outside. I start them early in the Voodoo Garden, probably around February, and I give them a long time to grow and get healthy, and I prune them back. I showed you, you watched the programs. And one of them was called Boxcar Willie. That was a tomato plant. And I finally took all my plants outside, hardened them off, got them acclimated to being outside, and I planted them in the garden. Those of you who tune into my outdoor gardening channel, the Practice 55712 channel, you saw me do this. And what happened was a problem. Okay, Mother Nature throws you curveballs, and there's nothing that you can do about it except laugh and dance a little faster. What happened was I took Boxcar Willie, I planted it, I had it out there hardening off. And through no fault of my, all right, it's all my fault. Right there, I said it. Through my fault, I broke all 3 of the stems that were growing. And that really made me kind of sad. I planted the big pot. It was in a pot about this size. I planted that huge root ball, planted it way deep, and the only thing coming out was this little itty bitty plant right at the base of it. It was just so incredibly sad. And then on top of that, as if, the universe hadn't, kicked me in the butt hard enough, it decided we're going to have really, really windy days. Very windy days, blows like a hurricane here in Iowa. Well, then Mother Nature decides, hey, how about if I throw a few frosts on top of that? So Mother Nature just mixed in some frosts and the windy days. So my peppers were just being wind-blown, wind-burnt, and dying right in front of my eyes. Boxcar Willie dropped dead. There's nothing left of Boxcar Willie except a memory and a brown stump. Nothing's coming out of that. I know. I know gardening. I've been doing it for decades. Boxcar Willie, rest in peace. But I had the tomato growing in the cup. Remember the tomato that was growing in a cup? Yeah, I decided to see how far I could grow a tomato in a cup. And then it dawned on me, wait a minute, isn't that Boxcar Willie? Yeah, I took a clipping off Boxcar Willie and grew it in a cup, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I was going to just throw it away because I was done playing around with it. Well, what I did was I planted it in a pot. This is before the outdoor Boxcar Willie died. I planted it in a pot, and I have some photographs because I wanted to take photographs so you can see the timeline, okay? So take a look at these photographs and I'll explain what I was doing. This is Boxcar Willie before any trimming was done. Tomato in a cup. So then I trimmed off all the stems all the way up to the top because those stems were going to be buried so that they could produce roots. I took a pot, put a few inches of soil in it, placed Boxcar Willie in the bottom, and gently spread the stems aside and added soil until it was all the way to the top. Gave it some water. And this is Boxcar Willie today. He's looking pretty good. I took, like I said, I spread the stems out. Now, this is not exactly Boxcar Willie today. You have to add on something else because I did something else. What I did was I took off clippings off of each one of these and I tossed them in a cup. I did this a few days ago, and they went through their initial wilt, and now they're starting to perk back up. So actually what you can do is, I pushed the stem all the way down to the bottom of the cup. So you can actually add this amount of length on here. The Boxcar Willie was literally this tall. Now what I did was I took these cuttings, and I'm rooting them, and I think it's tomorrow, since they're now starting to perk up, means they're starting to get roots. Tomorrow, I'm going to take them outside. I still have time to do this. I'm going to take them outside, start hardening them off, and then I'm going to plant these where the old Boxcar Willie is. So these are clones of dead Boxcar Willie. So Boxcar Willie comes back from the dead, and I think that's great. So I was just fortunate enough to have that plant available. Now, what I'm going to do with this one is, since it's growing in the pot, I'm going to grow this one indoors, and I'm going to see how long I can grow this. I'm going to grow this through the summer, and more than likely, if my plans don't change, through the winter, and I'm just going to take cuttings. Instead of starting it out from scratch next time, I'll just take a cutting, start it out from scratch, and plant it next year. This will be my mother plant for starting off Boxcar Willie every single year. I figured, yeah, what the heck, I got the room, and I can just keep this nice and sturdy and see how long I can keep a tomato plant growing in the voodoo garden, because tomato plants are not just an annual thing where you plant them and they die. If you give a tomato plant or a pepper plant the right growing conditions, they can, as far as I know, they'll live for years and years and years and years and years. So because they're a tropical plant. Normally when they grow way down South and Central America, there is no winter down there and they're not going to die. They just keep on growing. So that's what I'm thinking, is that this might continue to grow indefinitely. We'll see, okay? But I wanted to show you that because I was showing you all these other things, and I wanted to bring this to your attention because it's something that made me happy. I'm not going to go without my Boxcar Willie tomatoes. I really love the flavor. I love how they grow, and they produce like crazy, and I'm glad that I was... I want to take credit for it and say, I'm glad I thought ahead, but you know me, I didn't think ahead. It was just pure luck. I'm a lucky guy. Anyway, that takes care of today's show. I hope you did enjoy yourself. If you have any questions concerning anything or growing indoors, if you just want to say hi, post it in the comment section below. One of us, one of me, the plants, somebody's going to get back in touch with you as quickly as we possibly can. So until next time, this is Ray and his Plants in the Voodoo Garden. We're out of here. My forever tomato.